Hey guys, Derek here. Welcome back to my channel. So today I'll be walking you guys through this painting I made on Procreate. It's a Kimi No Na Wa painting, and it's also part of my daily life series, which is basically a series where I paint one picture per day of my life as a sort of a digital documentary. So this is when my best friend and we watched Kimi No Na Wa on the night of April 16th. It was her first time watching and probably my 10th time or so. Yeah, I just wanted to capture that moment using a scene from the movie, and it's done on Procreate. This was a much requested tutorial as well. So anyway, let's get right to it. So initially I think I made a big mistake trying to paint the entire thing on just one layer, and I stuck with that, and y'all will see why. I did struggle a bit with this painting, but it was fun. I wanted to challenge myself. Again, my process is very similar to how I paint on Photoshop. So I start painting from the back first. What I mean by that is I'm first painting the blank sky, then I give some semblance of the clouds in the distance, and after that I start blocking in the city. Now when it comes to details, this painting had a lot of details, so I had to figure out a way on how to go about filling in those details. What I did was I started to roughly block in the entire city at one point before filling in any details, so I get a rough idea on how it's going to look overall. On screen now you can see that I am just blocking in the buildings. Again, I'm just using a rectangular brush for this, so don't worry about the brushes and what textures I'm using. There are no textures in this painting. So I was actually struggling a bit with the colors. I wanted to get all the colors I needed into this one frame over here, so I didn't have to go back and keep checking from the color palette, or I mean the color selection thing on the top right. I just wanted to pick from my canvas and keep painting it from then on. I did struggle a bit, like I said. This painting was not an easy one. I also, for some reason, didn't use a perspective guide or grid. I kind of just eyeballed it. Wanted to give myself a challenge to see how I could do it. I don't know why I like punishing myself like that. I also struggled a bit with drawing these lines, you know, the meteor trail. I am not that good with drawing bold, confident strokes. So, and okay, over here the brush, I use the typical pencil brush. I liked it because it has this grainy texture to it, so it's not smooth like any of the other brushes, and it's just a pencil brush. There's no special thing to it. So once I added that in, I decided, okay, hey, I'm just gonna paint the clouds in front of this, and just like how it is in the movie. So I had planned this out initially, otherwise I would not know how to go about actually painting the clouds over the trails of asteroids if I didn't paint it later on. This was fun actually. I love painting clouds. Like, skies are my comfort zone. I can just zone out of them. That's why I also love watching Makoto Shinkai films. He really goes all out, especially on the skies and the moods. This film is one pretty crazy film. Like, I could watch this and not get tired of it all the time. So how I'm sculpting out the clouds is that I'm using the exact same brush I used for the clouds as the eraser. So it kind of keeps it in the same shape family, and I sketch out the cloud, then I erase bits, and then I erase it into shape. Which I did for the entire scene. Then over these clouds I wanted to add a little highlight. I added the highlights towards the bottom and of the clouds, and where it's facing sort of the asteroid trail, the meteorite trail, and then I added some shadows just to give it sort of a three-dimensional structure to the clouds, give it some form, give it some mass, as opposed to just keeping them flat and stretched out over the sky. So anyway, up until now it was nice and easy to paint this all on a single layer as such, but when I got to this point I was actually struggling and thinking about where do I begin detailing this and how do I go about it. Like, why did I not paint the buildings in different layers? I was like, oh man. And this painting actually took me a lot longer than normal. This took me, I think, 2 hours in total. Usually I try to keep them within an hour and a half. So anyway, I started detailing the objects in the front first, because I was like, hey, I might as well paint these out so then I can get an idea and give myself some motivation on how it's gonna look overall, because obviously the objects in the front of the painting closer to you, the foreground, are a lot more detailed, and it's what really catches your eye when you look at a painting, and the objects in the background are usually lesser detailed because they're far off in the distance. It's also perspective. And so I decided, okay, fine, I'm just gonna flesh out the front first, and then I'll be like, okay, hey, this will give me a better look on how the painting is gonna look finally, right? No, it did not. I was still stuck a bit with the buildings. These are just fleshing in some more details. Again, I'm just using the flat rectangular brush for all of this and sketch it in, and I also rotate the canvas a lot. This is how I sketch on paper as well. Strangely, I don't rotate that much on Photoshop. I'm now used to keeping my hand in the Wacom and just working with that as opposed to rotating the canvas much. I don't know how that works. It's just built up practice over the years. And then I began starting to detail these buildings, and this took the longest time because I was figuring out how do I make these look like buildings without spending that much time or effort into sculpting them out, because I was also starting to lose patience at this point. I wanted to finish the painting because I was like, hey, the sky looks great, the trail looks good, let me just add in the characters and be done with it. But no, and yours also at this point I was really struggling because I was like, okay, how do I add lights in between the buildings when this is on one single layer? If I had the buildings on separate layers, I would be like, okay, hey, just add a new layer for the lighting and use a soft brush, boom, it's done. You know, use a soft round brush, lightly give in some glow for lights. But I was really struggling over here. Now I know I'm not going to do that again. I also wanted to add a lot more details to the buildings, but I lost patience. So if you guys are more patient than I am with a painting like this, please give it all the time it's due, because it can end up as a very good product. And also, it's not that a good idea to paint a cityscape out on a single layer. Not at all. Yeah, and then I was like, okay, I'm done with the buildings. As you can see, they're not really done. I just kind of be like, okay, enough. I'm just going to start adding lights in at this point. It'll make them look like buildings in distance, so I just winged it. And even the lights, I didn't add them in that properly. I was just like scribbling, just scribbling them in all the time. But yeah, and then I used the soft brush and I changed the blend mode to color dodge, which I do on Photoshop a lot, and then I gave that glow. So I kind of tricked that illusion, you know, that there is some distance between the buildings and some depth to it. But it would have gotten done a lot faster if I had it. And yeah, I just used the perspective grid to help me get the lines straight. Otherwise, I was making them diagonal for some reason. Like I was losing sense. Okay, then I was like, okay, hey, motivation again. I'm going to paint these flowers in, and then I finally get to add in my characters, right? Because that is a good point. So I sketched these in, and here I was thinking, okay, hey, what brushes can I use? So I tried a few, they didn't work. So I just went back again to the default rectangular brush and I drew in the plants. But if I did have a plant texture brush, I would have used it. Like probably on Photoshop, I do have one, so I just save time and use that instead. The issue with using texture brushes is that sometimes they become too easy and then you lose, and if you don't have a good grasp of your fundamentals, it becomes a bit unnatural. So it's best to learn how to paint plants first and then use texture brushes, because then you know exactly how to use it. So for the characters, I made them on another layer. I didn't want to risk it, so I added a layer of white in between this and the background, and I reduced the opacity, so then I know exactly where to draw the colors, but I'm not also distracted by the darkness of the base image. So that's why I always use a layer of white in between. And yeah, I made a rough sketch, then I made another layer and I made the outline on it, and then I started coloring the characters in. Now it's important to note that the colors of your characters will be affected by all the blue light around, because this is a nighttime setting. So your skin won't really be brown. It would be like brown with blue light on top of it. Same for your clothing, same for your hair. So it's a good idea to experiment and see what looks more natural. And I tweaked it in the end, and yeah, this is how the final image looks. So yeah, this was fun. It was a good memory. And anyway, that's the painting for today. And also, I think at this point this channel hit about 400 subscribers, which is insane. I really appreciate it all because this feels a lot more candid as compared to Instagram. Yeah, I'm actually talking to 400 people who want to listen, you know. It's pretty exhilarating in that sense, and I'm also kind of trying to build up my confidence to talk better in front of the camera. And let's see how that goes. And if you guys like this tutorial, let me know if you like this process, or would you like it in any other way on how I go down breaking these softwares down to you. My point is that I don't want to teach you how to use the software. I want to teach you the thought behind the painting so that you'll start thinking that way, because you can use any software and get a similar end result, you know, like my Procreate and my Photoshop paintings look the same. Anyway, that's enough rambling from my end. I hope you guys liked it, and I'll catch you all with the next one. Bye.